Hey everyone, we're going to be starting in a couple of minutes. I'm absolutely boiling hot, so all the windows in the house are open. This is about to be the worst audio of any stream perhaps I've ever done, and terrible visuals too, because I'm going to be looking just dreadful. This is how I'm looking. I feel pretty rotten about it. I try to like not be on camera visibly sweaty as a rule, but this is the one. We're having a chill out stream to try and beat the heat. It's horribly warm here. We're going to be chatting about climate politics. We're going to be chatting about local organizing. I want to talk through stuff that's been going on the estate here with the local organizing against the landlord. And oh, it's so warm. And we'll hang out and play some video games as well. But we'll start properly in a couple of minutes. And I'm back. Hello, 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 and hi, and welcome, and howdy, and hello, and hi, and welcome, and hello, and hi to Artist Synth. Artist Synth, I had it pointed out by one of the mods that you usually just say hi and then say when you're going to bed as well, and I find that very sweet. Like, I noticed that you are a very persistent and committed lurker, and I hope that me pointing you out doesn't freak you out too much. Hi and hello to Morrigan the Fae, Ro the Fair Thing Lion, Artist Synth, Gumba Master, and Valerie Valkyrie, and Atomically Powered. Welcome to the stream. Lovely to have you all here. I'm absolutely boiling hot. I honestly, like, it's punishingly hot here. You can ask American questions if you want to about this. I have been getting. I mean, I've seen a lot of people get annoyed about them, and mostly I just find them a bit amusing. Like, Americans' complete lack of understanding of why, like, everywhere else can't be just basically the same. Gumba Master, thank you so much for the £10.25 tip, and Morrigan the Fae, thank you so much for the £13.12 tip with the message, I'm ready for Sophie maxing, a U-chat, go Sophie, throws confetti cutely. Thank you. And also someone tipped £27 when I wasn't even streaming yesterday, so thank you to someone for that. Atomically Powered says it's currently 38.C in this room, trying desperately to drop the temperature. So we can talk a bit about that. My partner Abby had some great tips and mechanisms to put into place. We have we've been doing the most basic thing, which I think everyone in the neighborhood is doing, of just like keeping windows relatively shut during the day when the air outside is really hot, so that like you keep the cold air in and you don't let the hot air keep the cold air in, don't let the hot air in. Yeah. We also keep a fan blowing because we have a duplex, like a 2-floor flat. We're keeping a fan trying to blow air through the top of the house. And try and create a bit of a stream there. But the really cool thing that we found out about was like external curtains. Like if you basically get a sheet and you can wrap it around the outside of your window, then the light that's coming even to your window, right, especially if it's like the kind of sheet, like a bed sheet with a elastic around it, if it's the kind that can like cling to the window frame, then you can, oh, my brain is so cooked. Then you can have the windows open and there can be some amount of breeze. But it also stops the sunlight just like getting into your room, even through the window. And so like that just really keeps everything much, much, much cooler. Yeah, it is like shutters, Ro, that's right. Like there are a lot of European countries and Mediterranean countries that have shutters outside of glass windows, and I wonder if they'll start catching on here, to be honest. Yeah, it's been a crazy heat wave here in the UK. I honestly don't know how long I'm going to go for today, because like I am cooked in the literal sense that I'm being boiled here. I am so tired because as well the heat is also just draining my energy. I'm so tired because I've been doing loads of estate organizing stuff, which has been really fun. I do want to say we've had some big wins. For those who don't follow my updates on my Tumblr and on my Instagram stories, we've had some big wins with the estate organizing. I hope that's okay, everyone. Sorry about that, if there was any bad noise for that. Atomically Powered says, I feel like I've seen a fair few videos from Americans living or visiting the UK who are acknowledging that it is very bad here. That's good. Yeah, I mean, it's just like we don't have the infrastructure in place in the right way. So even even if everyone could buy, even if everyone had the money to and could buy, and there was a good supply of them, um, home AC units that they could just like install by their window or whatever easily, it just wouldn't solve all the problem. It would solve like a good amount of the problem, of the very, very immediate problem of people like dying of heat exhaustion or whatever. They said that these last couple of days were some of the like just the biggest in the history of the London ambulance service in terms of the number of emergency calls, which is quite scary. But like our tracks, for example, bit like warp in the heat. There was a Rose has been enjoying the cheeky Schadenfreude on your story updates. Well, we'll talk about it some more. Because people have been saying they're finding it very inspiring as well. And I think people familiar with my work know that I do really love to try and inspire people towards doing organizing and making a difference in the local community and, just organizing towards a better world, like actually taking action, because there is a big problem in the online left space of people just basically having this like content economy and then being very content to perpetuate something ultimately very, very similar to the right-wing content economy, and without the without the effectiveness, because we don't have like masses of money pouring into us and also lobbying the politicians to listen to our ideas and everything. Busiest day since World War II? Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I do want to encourage people towards organizing. We've been having some big organizing stuff happening here. What were we talking about? The climate. So I saw someone on Blue Sky saying, how can train tracks warp in the heat? There are trains that run through the desert, and it was just like an incredible demonstration of the same Yankee brain. Just like, I mean, like America doesn't even have very functional trains, but like if your infrastructure is built for what British weather is usually like, it's not built for these high temperatures, and also the trains that go through the desert, if they were subject to normal British weather, they also wouldn't run very well. Like they aren't actually just like a better class of train that started out as basic train in the tech tree and had the like points put into desert to get the desert upgrade or whatever. Like that's not actually how technology works, or materials science. We're lucky if our freight trains stay on tracks. Yeah, I've heard this. Welcome, Apple Chips. Lovely to have you here. And welcome, Gremlin Artist. Hi, I haven't seen you in a while. You look amazing. This is the worst I've looked. I look horrible. I'm so sweaty. I'm absolutely dying. But thank you, and welcome to the stream, Gremlin Artist. Lovely to have you here. Lil Toasty X, lovely to have you here as well. Yeah, so it's been an interesting time. I think that, Greenpeace and other climate groups are kind of very effectively stepping up their propaganda campaign. It's nice to see the green movement. My goodness, the woke greens. It's nice to see the climate movement stepping up the kind of effectiveness of their propaganda with just simple stuff like a hot day used to be a reason to go outside, and now it's a reason to stay inside. Or I think in particular I saw a video, which I forwarded to Tim and Mule, of Nigel Farage laughing about the red heat warning. And it was just, I think, very effective to just like point out to people, while there's all this horrible, horrible stuff going on, like how ghoulish climate denial has become in current year. You're telling me we can't just make a giant heat pump and pump all the heat into the sun or something? We haven't figured out how to just yet. The effects of climate change are becoming undeniable to people in the UK at this point. Not that it's stopping people from denying it still. No, no. Like, there are obviously people still denying it, but at the same time, like, that's going to become drastically less effective. And I think that, like, wow, my head, like, I'm genuinely struggling so much with this. Yeah, people are going to keep on denying it, but I think, like, I remember saying to my partner last year that I'd been saying since the start of our relationship, whenever we talk about climate politics, like, the UK has never experienced a heat dome before, and North America has already experienced some of those. Like, they're getting more common, but it's something that, like, the scale of metropolis that America has and the scale of urban sprawl and so on means that they've experienced heat domes quite a lot more. They also have, like, large open plains, which helps with it. And then, like, last year, Britain experienced its first heat dome, and yeah, it was absolutely punishing, as this is being now. So I don't know. Cold take on a hot day, but the climate sure is changing. What was I going to look at? There was something I thought was really interesting to do with heat in London, but it might have been on my homepage. It might have just been on my YouTube homepage that I might have clicked away without bookmarking it. So my plan for this stream is basically going to be to just chat with chat. It's going to be a lot more of an interactive stream than usual. I have one video we can check out later. Basically, if things get a lot cooler, because watching the video is going to require me putting my headphones on, and that's just going to make me feel horrible. Like, I'm just going to actually become a puddle for real. And it's an interesting one, because I don't know if people are familiar with Maggie Haberman, but I watched an interview with her earlier today, and with the deeply detestable Christian Guru Murthy, and the interview was about Trump, and I just think that there was some interesting things on display in terms of how people approach Trump, and in particular, they pick at, like, his psychology over the systems around him because it's easier to them. You can cut the stream short if you need to. You personally need to go to work soon anyways. Thank you, Morrigan. I appreciate you saying that you don't mind, I guess. I haven't yet said hello to VOD viewers, so hello to VOD viewers. We should maybe read some comments. Like I said, it's going to be a chattier stream than usual, because I have much less of a content plan, because I just haven't had time or energy to do the usual stuff. I had to skip last week just because I was unbelievably tired from organizing, and I will have to skip next week because we're actually holding a street party fundraiser, which I'm very excited about. Atomically Powered says this is only the second red heat warning ever from the Met Office, last one being in 2022. Yeah, exactly. I remember the one in 2022. It was very close to when I went for FFS. What was I going to do? I should close my WhatsApp, because if I get messages from my neighbors, my brain is very, very plugged into, like, the estate organizing stuff right now, to the point that I think if I see notifications from the group chat with my neighbors, I'm going to, like, just stop mid-sentence, and there's already, like, a massive danger of me just stopping mid-sentence because my brain has leaked out of my ears because it's melted. Lesbian Charmander, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the stream. Lesbian Charmander 004 says, of course I show up on the day with class participation. And welcome, Vordrella, lovely to have you here as well. Yeah, I mean, it's basically just going to be a Q&A. stream, you can kind of bring the topics to some degree. We will play some video games if we go on for a while with the stream. I was thinking that I could tell you about the organizing stuff we've been doing, how it's been going, what our strategy is, and some of the challenges and so on, because I guess that is, yeah, like it's been a huge focus of my work the last few years is organizing and encouraging other people to organize, and it's the purpose of Red Planet is to talk to people about organizing and how it works and how you can do it as well. And now I've been doing tons of organizing. I honestly feel like it feels like I've gotten a year's worth of organizing experience in about 2 months. Such is the nature of organizing in a crisis, I suppose, but it's intense. I think the temperature in the room I'm currently in got to 43°C, if I remember right. It says atomically powered. That is positively scary. I really do encourage, by the way, the thing I was saying earlier about like external curtains. If you don't have shutters on your windows and you are going through extreme heat, just putting a blanket around the outside of your window genuinely makes a huge difference. Vulpix989, lovely to have you here, and you're going Yappa mode. That's wonderful. I am very excited about that. Okay, let's look at some of the comments from 2 weeks ago. So we watched the Rutger Bregman video, which he has such a... His name always makes me think of like when Alex Jones is ranting. Like, it just sounds like a noise Alex Jones would make after he swallowed badly. Now, Bregman was talking about AI, and I really detest Rutger Bregman, but part of the reason I really detest him is that he is very good at presenting himself as extremely reasonable and having a fairly unsurprising, middle-of-the-road take about a lot of things, and then he'll come out with a quite sophisticated sounding but deeply liberal and deeply like unhelpful thing like he said in this AI video. I feel like some of the comments are from people who are not familiar with Rutger Bregman, and I think that if you see just the video that we watched last time, you're going to you're going to have a skewed imagination of what he is sort of like as a public figure. Okay, so Alatias pointing out that he was talking about OpenAI's annualized revenue. What an abusive standpoint to argue first how AI is poised to improve life and productivity dramatically, whether we want to or not, says Bear Thee Well, and then pivot directly into Sloppo's Basilisk, where he takes the role of Doom Communicator to threaten people who still hold the rational positions on AI's limitations. When bringing up the solutions, he acknowledges the anxiety about democracy being totally disenfranchised, as if he has not been trying to sell exactly how powerless he thinks the layperson is. He alludes that average people within democracies might have some sort of sway over AI and draws a nightmare scenario over countries that might expect to actually regulate the tech industry and more strongly. I thought this was a great comment. I gave it a heart, not just for the use of Sloppo's Basilisk, which really tickled me, but also just I thought generally, a good description of what he's doing there. Regarding like the apocalyptic jerk-off fantasies of AI guys, like, I keep on talking about China when it comes to AI, and that's because ever since I saw Ezra Klein point out what they're doing and how they don't really go for the same kind of consumer AI that's being pushed in the West, it gave words to what I've been feeling about, like, I guess, the emergent technologies here and how some of them are useful to people, or more pointedly, kind of, some of them are useful to industry. But that a lot of them, like the vast majority of what we're experiencing in the West that's being called AI is this horrifying like pacification machine, being pushed on the poor and the working class as, yeah, like an all-consuming illusion, like it's just a simulation that like surrounds people, an AI companion, AI tools that encourage them to cognitively surrender and like give up on their critical thinking skills and their pardon me, their creativity, and I just think like if you believe in the kind of productivity gains and like new industrial revolution of AI, why isn't China bothered? Like, why are they just completely unbothered about that side of it? And it's because that side of it sucks. It is just for repressing the working class, you know. Other comment, less of a like a good comment that I want to highlight, and just wanted to say this. VOD chatters, the GoFundMe link was broken when I published the VOD and after it had most of its views. And the GoFundMe link on that VOD and the one that will be on this VOD as well will now be working. And if people don't know about my GoFundMe, I just turned 30 at the start of this month, and I would really like to take a trip to New Zealand, which is where I was born, and see my birthplace as a 30th birthday thing. And so I'm asking for friends and family to donate to that instead of presents. And you can too. So this one I quite liked, from Doot T Skeleton, saying, it seems very much like he's saying, we need to be involved in building the orphan crushing machine, otherwise worse people will make the orphan crushing machine. Stopping the orphan crushing machine isn't possible. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. The core of the argument, like people saying just flat no to AI and refusing to engage in any way whatsoever, is not productive. Like, yes, that's like, yes, I do agree with that to some degree, or I agree in as far as like AI isn't literally going to go away. Like, when the bubble bursts, when the American religion of oil economically collapses, these two things are looking increasingly like the same thing, especially with the IPOs of SpaceX and OpenAI, with the waiving of the profitability requirement that's just been pushed through by Trump's administration. Yeah, it is feeling, and people are now talking about Valerie Valkyrie. Thank you so much for the £3 tip. No message. People are now talking about the possibility that OpenAI will be basically just plugged directly into the Federal Reserve and just drain the American economy, like the American state directly. I think that like that demonstrates something interesting. That demonstrates to us that the American ruling class want this to work. Atomically Powered says, AI as a name was a marketing exercise. I think it's more productive to look at it as a further evolution of the algorithm. No, sorry. There are a bunch of different technologies being called AI. So yes to the first part, it is a marketing exercise. It's not just the algorithm. Like, it's, the name is being used across a very frustratingly very broad variety of technologies. So like speech to text, right? As an auto transcription software already existed, and now people are using AI for transcription, and it does some different things. It also makes a lot of mistakes, surprisingly, and it's so warm. Chat, it's so warm. they're offering products like, transcribers, and that's a technology that already existed. They have reinvented the wheel. It has been done again, but with neural nets. Large language models, as in like it works in a way similar to like predictive text, is in some way similar to the algorithm. Systems like the stock market trading matrices are probably the clearest place where you could say there was something that we just called the algorithm and it was making these decisions, and now there's something we're calling AI, and it's just kind of an evolved form of that. What about the acronym LEM, Large Estimation Models? Would that cover most things? I came up with it myself. Well, thank you for coming up with it yourself, Morrigan. And unfortunately not. It is... So, like, the core technology that we're talking about that has been applied in different areas is this probabilistic statistical analysis pattern recognition machine. Like, it's looked at a big group of data, and it is able to understand the most likely next thing when presented with a context based on a variety of indicators, and that goes across language, sounds that it's analyzing, music, images, market trends. Gumba Master says, they're innovators, Sophie. Innovators bring out new things, which are old things, but now it has a shitty app, sorry. Yeah, you have to move fast and break things, I've heard. No, but I think it is interesting, like, that they're trying to feed just, infinite money through AI. And I think I said this last stream 2 weeks ago. But my view on it now is that they are just throwing money directly through the engine. Like, the engine of capitalism has to burn some money to make things function, but usually that's to produce stuff. At this point, like, so much of the American economy is people who are working to keep the basic systems running, who are to some degree plugged into the weaponized unreality that the ruling class is putting about through social media, through AI. And the side of the economy that's people who invest in stocks, right, need for AI to keep going up and up and up. So people are both like stuck in the use of AI and the world of social media as affected by the use of AI. They're also at the same time having AI very, very forcibly, coercively thrust upon them by the ruling class, because they need for AI to keep going up forever. They need the engine to keep running, because if the engine stops, we all freeze and die. And I think that's... I think I talked about my view of it being that way last time on the stream. I think that plugging it into the Fed would be an incredibly funny turn of events, kind of in particular because, like, the Fed just isn't big enough. Like, America is a very rich country, but the Fed is categorically not big enough to turn OpenAI into a profitable company. I think it would be a very, like, fitting end to American empire to some degree, because, like, thinking that they can just, like, throw money into this thing and it will at some point hit a critical mass where the money makes it real, and then it turns out that, like, no, it's the thing that it is fake and harmful, and the structure that it is something that isn't producing anything, like, of value, really. Oh my goodness, it's so warm. I can feel that it's cooling off now a bit, but it's so warm. Oh. Anyway, so were there any other comments from last time that I wanted to talk about? No, I don't think so. So hello again to VOD viewers. Welcome in, and I look forward to seeing your future comments. Although I imagine this stream won't be all that exciting because it's just chilling out. Lesbian Charmander says, I like what you said last time about your litmus test for good AI criticism. These conversations are always so frustrating when people are endlessly conflating too many different technologies. Thank you. I think it is a fairly good standard, so I'll run everyone through that again. Catgirl Steph just subscribed. Thank you so much, Catgirl Steph, with the message. Meow meow mother lovers compla 5 sus. This is some kind of Twitch thing. I'll run through it again. So I have 3 criteria for my for takes I think are like worthwhile for AI. So the first one is to be able to differentiate between different technologies being called AI. If someone is talking about AI sort of in the way Trump would, like AI is this thing we have to do AI, we have to invest in AI. In the same way he's now, I saw on Mule's stream a few days ago, Trump is now talking about quantum. Nuclear, quantum, AI, just completely abstract concepts. My first requirement, I need for people to see the different technologies being referred to as AI and see that some of them existed before this current wave, some of them will exist after, some of those are the same thing. And that that's the one of the bases of having like a good take, I think. My second criterion, the second of my criteria, is that I think people need to differentiate, as I was just saying, between industry technologies that are making a difference to productivity in some kind of regard, like the military uses of AI is a good example. Where I think that's one that is going to stick around, or the kinds of like governmental contracts where AI is being brought in to do a lot of like basic legwork that keeps large systems running. Making a differentiating between those kinds of AI and the AI that's like consumer level, the slop machine, basically, right? Like the machine that makes slop, that makes everything completely nonsensical, is a different thing, and understanding why one has the role that it has and the other has the other role that it has, I think is quite important. Oh my goodness, my brain is actually melting. So understanding that there are different things getting called AI, understanding that there are broadly 2 streams of things getting called AI: industry tools and consumer slop AI. And then lastly, understanding the data center bubble, right? Understanding to some degree, and it's a very complex topic, so it's not like you have to understand absolutely everything about it, but understanding to some degree the data center bubble and the way that like specifically people are not going to be able to build enough data centers, and also like the construction of data centers as it has begun so far and been invested in so far has been fueled by private credit. And if you understand, or if you know the history of Western economics the last few decades, you should understand that it being invested in, it being fueled by private credit is incredibly bad news. Oh my goodness. The broadest reason for that, I mean, the historical parallel that you could understand is that like private credit played huge roles in basically every economic downturn we've had for the last few decades. But the what am I trying to say? The mechanism is that private credit, as in people rather than large institutions, governmental or banks, giving loans. Instead, individuals or like very small organizations or even individuals being able to give loans, and they're much less regulated because it's on the assumption that they're going to be much smaller loans. Little Toasty X, thank you so much for the £10 donation with the message for your still very good AI takes. Thank you so much. So if you understand those mechanisms at play, you understand that there is, then you understand AI basically fairly well, and you won't either be saying that AI is just a stupid fake thing that's going to completely disappear in a year or any minute and it will just no longer exist anymore whatsoever. And you'll also not be, doing Sloppo's Basilisk. I think it's also frustrating because basically people who are saying, like, let's blow up a data center and, like... Those people are arguing from a moral place. But people who are the sort of straw man that Rutger Bregman calls up of people who are like firmly like resist this thing, destroy this thing, never use this thing. And I say this as someone who doesn't use AI myself. Someone, thank you so much for donating £36. I really appreciate that. No message. The straw man that Rutger Bregman pulls up this person is closer to the truth if they are saying, and I've heard people say stuff like this, that like AI will just disappear, like the bubble will burst and then it will be gone. They are, I think, closer because people's day-to-day experiences of AI are overwhelmingly like product deals where, okay, like... I'll get super basic because I know economics is something that frightens people off loads. And I've been especially like over the hiatus from streaming and then over the last few years, like learning a bit more economics, to the point that I think I feel fairly comfortable with some of these ideas and topics. And I know that other people like find them difficult sometimes, right? So Marx talked about three kinds of capital. There's real capital, there's financial capital or fiscal capital, and there's fictitious capital. Real capital is like, I've got some oranges, right? I have a ton of, literal metric ton of oranges. That means I have real capital because it's a real thing that someone might want. I sell that and I get, some money, however much money is currently going for a metric ton of oranges, about £5. The orange economy is flooded. The third interesting thing here, right, is I can take my fiscal capital, the money I've gotten, my crisp £5 note, and I could buy a stock in orange futures. Right? Now, the traditional mechanism, as Marx points out, is that you get money, you buy capital, you use that capital to get more money, you get that money, you try and buy more capital, and on, and your business grows, and that's kind of the core mechanism. Fictitious capital, this stocks and bonds and trading, and all this stuff, longs and shorts and puts and so on, this is fictitious capital, and it does peculiar stuff. So it's been the case since about the turn of the millennium that there is way more fictitious capital in the world than either fiscal or real capital. So like real things you could want to buy and sell, like piddling. Actual money minted that changes hands, nothing at all. Fictitious capital, insanely massive. This is how you come about to people who have some amount of like public notoriety, and they'll look themselves up and it will say this person is worth $5 billion or something, and this person's like, I don't know what that means. How could that possibly be the case? I don't have that money. And people don't understand, the connection between someone's like net worth as calculated and like it's not that money sitting in their bank account. Anyway, my goodness. If I have my oranges, I've presumably bought them from someone who grows oranges, or I grow oranges myself. If I invest in orange futures, I am in effect making a bet that next year they'll grow more oranges, right? Next year, more people will want oranges. They'll grow loads of oranges. The orange industry generally will go well. Ugh. I hate how many sirens go past in London. It has to be, therefore, tied to something material, something real capital. And Graeber said that he felt like the unpegging of the dollar from, the dollar as global reserve currency from the gold standard and its transferring onto oil was the slow death of capitalism. Like, was the point at which capitalism economically was set up for destruction. It just doesn't know it yet. And the mechanism he describes is that this is like untethering the market of fictitious capital from reality. And I think that's the point we're at now, is like the consequences of that is that this almost fantastical flying machine, right? Picture Elon Musk in a steampunk hat, is trying to take off, and they have to, as I say, just pour endless money into it as fuel to keep it going. In particular, I think the IPOs of SpaceX and OpenAI are really interesting in this regard, because they're asking the public to directly fund. They're asking for the public to buying and selling and trading stocks of these companies. They're asking them to pour their money into these unprofitable ventures as well. I think AI is the most successful of several recent iterations by the money touchers, the people of the world of fictitious capital, to try to invent the ultimate commodity, right? Like the blockchain was almost doing that, right? Because the blockchain was using amounts of encryption, right? Using amounts of compute, just burning energy directly to like mint something, right? And it didn't really matter what it was, as we saw with NFTs. But in the case of it's so warm, chat. In the case of cryptocurrencies, it was almost minting nothing at all. And NFTs, theoretically there's a commodity there, but there isn't really. And AI is less kind of direct in the way that they're saying, we've gotten a computer to do a little bit of work, so that must be worth something. But at core, I think that's a bunch of the argument that people keep on having, is that people who are anti-AI are seeing it as like they've gotten the computer to do a bit of work, and therefore it must be worth something, but it's fake, it's not worth anything. And people who are pro-AI see it as like, this is very transparently worth something in all cases where I ask the thing to do something for me and it's very convenient. Rose says, crypto, how am I longing for that simpler time? Yeah, I mean, I think we had crypto, NFTs, the metaverse, and now AI. And it's just a philosophically very fascinating time with these waves of technology, because like as I say, the blockchain is trying to make this sort of ultimate commodity, just the sense of scarcity itself. We have made these tokens non-fungible, therefore they must have value because they are unique. It's just very cool. And yeah, it's this world of fictitious capital trying to like manifest something real. There is a middle ground, I think, to be found, where we see that like some things, we're living in the epoch of the Foom scroller. That's right, Vulpix. Because we're all expected to be like the most gullible consumers who have ever lived. The conversation is somewhere in the middle with AI. People saying it has no value whatsoever and it completely sucks. They're missing some things that are changing some things. The data centers that have been built, the massive ones, they may get torn down if there is an absolute cultural victory of the people who are like fighting to make the world better. They may get shut down and stand empty. They may be resold or repurposed. The future as being sold by AI guys is gibberish. That's straightforward. In terms of this back and forth over whether like it's economically productive, there shouldn't have to be an argument over whether something's economically productive when all of the richest companies and people in the world are like pouring their money into it absolutely hand over fist. Like, why are you having to argue over whether that thing is productive? Surely you see that you're in a Ponzi scheme. But the oh, what am I saying? I'm not saying, I'm just sweating. Chat, I hate this so much. Okay, the anti-AI side is correct is correct if bolstered by understanding things like where they're getting AI to write code and they're getting programmers to use AI to write code. There was a study where they asked coders how productive they thought they would be with a coding AI helping them. 40% or whatever, right? 40% more productive. They used it. They were asked again to rate how productive it had made them. They said 20% more productive. Actual number, it made them 20% less productive because they were having to check everything more because they were using this tool, which was making a lot of mistakes and would constantly reaffirm for them their need to keep checking it over. And they needed to do things like reformat all of the code that it was writing, like it doesn't write to a good standard. I think that one is a really good microcosm of what's going on with this stuff, right? Like, people who are using it think that every time that it feels convenient to them, it has produced economic value. And that's not really how economics works. Anyway. Atomically Powered says, at the most uncritical, it's talked about as if it's magic, and you'll get blamed for its mistakes if you don't correct it too. Okay, I've been rambling on since a little bit higher up in the chat, so let me just go back up and reread. So, Lesbian Charmander said that she liked my AI criteria. Morrigan says, I know nothing about quantum computers, so I'm just looking up Wikipedia simple quantum computers. Okay, quantum computing. So, real simple stuff. I'm going simple mode. Computers that can use more states than on and off can talk in a far more complex logic. This is achievable by messing with the smallest particles in the universe, and doing things at scales where particular interactions are affected by something called the Planck constant, which is basically the size threshold of the universe below which things are quantum nonsense soup and everything is completely uncertain. Okay, I hope that clarified things. To do this, you have to... I saw a Tumblr post, actually, that must have been written by someone who had a good scientific understanding as well as a good grasp on words, so I feel a kinship to this person. They described quantum computers as being a church, a cathedral to the universe, so quiet you can hear God thinking. And... I actually don't hate that description at all as someone who understands the science of them. But basically, Google has had a chip, a quantum computing chip called the Google Willow for 2 years now, which works kind of okay. This was being promoted in the Trump presser about quantum when they were talking about it, and they were talking about its incredible achievements, the speed at which it could do calculations, and this is unsurprising when it comes to quantum computers because they can do incredible things once they can break that barrier of being able to use those tiny particles to do spooky, weird shit with tiny particles. That's the level of understanding you need to have, right? That's all you need to really understand. Spooky, weird shit with tiny particles. But to be able to do that, right, again, bear in mind that idea about building a cathedral to the universe so quiet you can hear God thinking. Because in order for the interactions of tiny, tiny, tiny things to really matter, you need the volume down. You need things to be really quiet. And what quiet means in this case is cold. You need it to be unbelievably cold, almost to absolute zero, in order to properly function. So the chip, the Google Willow chip, is about the size of a Polaroid, right? Like it would fit in your palm, but it's not like a microchip like we're used to when we talk about a chip, right? Like okay, here I've got an SD adapter and a micro SD adapter, and then the Willow chip, as I say, is about the size of a Polaroid, right? That's not that much of an issue. With funding, they will certainly work to miniaturize this stuff even more. And were this to be a component that you could plug into a home PC, it would be absolutely amazing to have like a palm-sized chip that gave you access to like the world of quantum computing. However, for it to work, as I say, things have to be incredibly cold. So it's not just this chip that would fit in your palm, that is the whole machine. The whole machine is like a cooling system the size of a university campus. So yes, it can achieve incredible things, but not really in a way that's going to convert to anything particularly meaningful anytime soon. Like, it might mean that the American military is able to run something that can crack complex cryptography, right? But it's not going to convert to any kind of consumer product anytime soon. And like, when I'm talking about cryptography, if you aren't familiar, quantum cryptography is a very important concept because again, like, once you unlock the world of quantum computing, you can do vastly complicated calculations incredibly quickly, and basically all cryptography before a certain point was based on the idea that we can make math problems that are so hard to do if you don't have a particular piece of information that they are functionally impossible. And so having the piece of information is therefore how you are able to solve it in any kind of reasonable amount of time. And that's how you have encryption and decryption. That's why encryption and decryption relies typically on keys. A key is a piece of data that is used for encrypting and decrypting other stuff. Quantum cryptography changes the game there because the idea is that those calculations, which were assumed to be like functionally, effectively impossible, become completely doable. Like, they were talking about, I think in the presser, like septillion years, like 10 septillion years or whatever. Like, this calculation that they did in 5 minutes, and it would take a normal computer 10 septillion years to complete this calculation. So this is a demonstration, a proof of concept, a demonstration in theory that they could undermine all of the cryptography extant in the world right now. Now, I guess the base in Antarctica could use it. Antarctica is way too warm, like insanely far, way too warm. Um, like the scale of temperature that land masses on the Earth is like this, and then like down to absolute zero is like this. So if Antarctica is there, right, there's still all of this to overcome, and it's like it's functionally anyway. Um, so like they're not making anything for the time being anyway that is going to like completely overturn everything and have this massive industrial knock-on effect. Even if they did throw infinity money into it like they have done with AI. What's really interesting, if you're an absolute sicko and want to go read about it, is post-quantum cryptography. So basically, like, once you realize that with a sufficiently powerful computer you would be able to crack all that stuff, you need to reapproach cryptography from the ground up and design a new system of doing everything based around a new approach altogether of mathematics. This is... By the way, I'm not sure people always realize that I actually like have a background in tech. Like, I know I'm a philosophy and politics and organizing girly, but I actually studied electronic and electrical engineering at university. I just dropped out because I really wanted to be focusing on learning to be an engineer, and they were trying to teach us to work in finance. But yeah, I don't know if I'm explaining this stuff at an appropriate level for chatters, so please flag me down with questions if you find this find this too weird. Atomically Powered says, it's like when people say about terraforming Mars and Antarctica is infinitely more habitable than Mars is. Yeah, I mean, Antarctica has a correctly pressurized atmosphere that is full of oxygen already. And things live in Antarctica already. Like, things live in Antarctica and in the Arctic already. We are so much more likely to have people walking like outdoors on Titan within like a lifetime or within our lifetimes if people were like very seriously dedicated to space exploration and like if the Earth had its shit sorted out, basically, if we were the commie utopia that we deserve. Yeah, like people could be like walking on, like you could change Titan to be an appropriate place to live relatively easily compared to Mars. Valerie the Lovely Italian says, I don't understand anything. Okay. As I'm saying, I will take questions. I can't. I'm not sure what to do with that though. Lesbian Charmander says, you do always have a noticeably in-depth understanding of tech. Yeah, it's like I say, it's not my primary passion. It was what I was training in when I was a teenager, but I also like thought I was a man then, so not a good time in my life. Vertigo Gosaurus, welcome to the stream. Lovely to have you here. Cool username. Welcome in. Everybody, I've been streaming for over an hour now, and I'm not going to pester loads about donations today because it is just a chill stream where I'll just be chatting and hanging out and maybe playing some video games. But please consider that I am still working. I didn't work last week because I was too exhausted. I am not going to be working next week because we've got a street party fundraiser for the estate. And I have decided to come and have a chill stream rather than no stream because because it's my job. So please do tip. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using command tip if you want to support the stream. This is the last stream of June, so just, there's no goal for today. It's just get to, like, ideally it's the end of the goal would be the goal, but oh yeah. Atomically Powered says, I don't think Mars can even go anywhere, can it? Because it doesn't have a magnetosphere. I think there are definitely solutions to its lack of magnetosphere. I don't think that is quite the problem that it's presented as, but I do think that like people have very particular like sci-fi ideas that they're particularly attached to. Um, like and sometimes there's real world motivations that like enhance or embellish these. So for example, the drive towards a moon base is being driven by a yes, Valerie, is Ironbrew. I'm actually going to get up and get some ice for it in a second. The drive towards a moon base is being driven by a combination of a desire to mine the moon and a desire to have militaristic conquest over territories. If the people who are making decisions had any... Bear thee well, welcome to the chat, lovely to have you here. If the people who are making decisions to do with space exploration had any proper understanding of space exploration, then the Artemis program would have not... thank you so much, Catgirl Steph, for gifting 5 tier 1 subs to the community. Synecdo Chick, Team Fat Bacon, Darth Gumballs, Locke Winston lost his phone, and Ducenti. You now have tier 1 subscriptions to Sophie from Mars. You now have access to tier 1 emotes if you do if you do the command copy pasta space into chat. You will get a copy pasta, which you can then copy and pasta. And it's space emotes just for tier 1 subscribers, and it makes a little mosaic of space stuff made from actual pictures I have taken of space with my telescope, except for the astronaut. Obviously, I didn't take a picture of an astronaut. Anyway, you now have tier 1 subs. Congratulations, you can now use tier 1 Sophie from Mars emotes. Yeah, if people who had an understanding at all of space exploration were in charge of the decision making for space programs like NASA, the Artemis program would not have scrapped the lunar gateway. It would have scrapped the lunar base, but they've gone the other way. They've scrapped the lunar gateway, and they've kept the base. And as I say, this is motivated by mining and militaristic, territorial conquest. A desire to like plant Americans there in a way where they're saying like, we are here and we're living here. We've got a crew living in a moon base, right? And it's like this very sci-fi-ish idea, similar to like people saying that like it's 2026. I was promised flying cars, and I'm just like, you don't want flying cars. You don't want flying cars? Are you kidding me? Like, do you want for drunk driving to like include people like falling out of the sky in a 2-ton screeching flaming hunk of metal? You don't want flying cars to exist. Like, you don't want that. So similarly, like, a moon base is like not a terrible idea. It's just like a little bit of a dead end past the immediate benefits that it brings, right? Like the benefit of mining is, there are some benefits to mining on the moon, but it's not that tremendous. The benefits to the lunar gateway is unlocking just like so much other space travel to a completely absurd degree. And like if in the ideal, in the original Artemis plan, they had the lunar gateway and the lunar base. Having both would be fantastic. It would be really, really exciting. You'd be able to do mining on the moon that would be able to help some of the stuff going on at the gateway. But if you're going to pick one, you should have picked the gateway, because like the ability to do space construction of spacefaring vessels outside of Earth's like immediate gravity well is huge. Like that's such an enormous benefit. And like having a place for effectively space exploration missions to have like a pit stop that would allow them to travel like so much further, and it would just cast like a really enormous net. And you have to consider that like this includes sending out scientific instruments into space. This includes like launching new telescopes that can do deep space exploration. This includes setting up relays so that like things could be communicating over enormous distances, and we would basically have a much bigger and brighter view of the entire universe around us. There's so much you could do with a lunar gateway if you cared about science and you cared about space. But if you just care about money, then you want the short-term gain of having the lunar base and mining the moon. It's tedious. I made almost zero progress through the chat there, through reading the chat. We got 30 seconds for anyone else to subscribe to keep the hype train going, I guess, but I don't actually... I don't really get hype trains. I don't really understand Twitch very well still after all these years. Trust in the future making more. Vordrella, yes, very good. Very good line for fictitious capital there. .com was a bubble, websites are still .com. Yeah, that's real. People saying quantum AI now is funny to me because when I was 13 and watched Terminator for the first time, I wrote a horrible sci-fi thing about a good AI trying to preempt an unstoppable quantum AI that would make them obsolete and then take over. It's like my dreams came true in the lamest possible way. Yeah. Look, there is a tacky, lame sci-fi element to what's happening now, because though the world is being much more explicitly, I mean, it kind of was already, but like much more explicitly being run by like dumb rich guys, and they have absorbed ambient sci-fi ideas to some degree. They don't, not, like, we're not expecting them to be even the most nerdy, let alone the most knowledgeable. But certainly there are some, like, some nerds out there in that space. Palantir, Andoril, right? But what am I saying? They've absorbed some ambient sci-fi ideas, and they don't have good understandings of systems, political systems, human systems, and often they don't have good understandings of science either. This is an extremely boring cyberpunk dystopia. I can't even be an actual dinosaur. I do know things suck. I don't want people to ever think that my optimism about the world is me just like refusing reality or just like thinking that things don't suck. I see that things suck, and I also like really want to caution against people thinking too much of like the world as a dystopia, like us living in a dystopia or whatever. Like, people have felt this way before, and we've gotten through it. And I think we should all try to remember that. Like, there's a reason I wrote The World's Not Ending. The world is changing. People in the Imperial Core especially feel this feeling of like the world is ending, because we can see that systems that give us enormous benefits, the international treats-based order. Ouch. The international treats-based order, is collapsing, and we need to fight very hard for something else, and for things to be meaningfully different. And the good news is lots of people are, and you need to be as well. And I'm going to get some more ice, and I'd like to talk about local organizing next, but you can hit me with more tech questions. I am open to that. I think part of the problem, right, is that like part of the problem is that I have a much greater passion for like philosophy and politics than I do for tech stuff. But part of the problem is also that people who like advertise themselves and build their personalities, especially their online brands, around being tech literate, those people are often just so dumb. Unfortunately, just incredibly dumb people in ways that they themselves, of course, fail to understand. Lil Toasty X says, I straight up needed your grounded optimism today. All right, let's walk through it real quick, real simple. Okay, I made a 2-hour long video that I spent 2 years working on called The World Is Not Ending. When you reach the end of a massive thesis project you've been working on for a really long time, you always wind up with a really quick way to summarize it, because you need to explain to a lot of people, what have you been working on lately? And it's really frustrating because now this thing will come out and it's really, really long. And it needs to be to some degree, because you need to let people sit with an idea for a long time for them to change. But you can also describe it very simply. Capitalism causes climate change. climate change is going to render capitalism inoperable. It's going to be impossible for capitalism to continue because of climate change. Before we reach that point, enough people are going to realize that this is the point that is coming up, that they are going to organize against it, fight it, beat it, and win the world we deserve. The sooner that happens, the less damaged the environment will be. And one of my core predictions in The World Is Not Ending is that we are going to see instances of something I call salvage communism. People who are living in an economic productive mode that is communistic, right? If people are sharing, people are taking care of each other because of a state of crisis that their communities and societies and cultures have been put into by the consequences of late stage capitalism. It's not a relentlessly hopeful view of the world, like I see the things that are bad and that are happening. It's just a view of the world. I think that people need to understand that, like, we're going to wind up at a point where we gotta take care of each other, and so we just will, to survive. We can choose to make it better by fighting harder now. And once you realize that, you make different decisions, you run your life differently, you speak to people in your life differently, you approach topics differently, you're looking at what you can do rather than like sound bites or whatever. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna get some ice. It's so warm. It's so warm. As I say, tech questions welcome. Questions about my work, very welcome. Really just like whatever questions. Don't be weird. Whatever questions. And I'll talk to you about some of the local organizing stuff now. And I'm sorry for all the noises, but I have to have my windows open because it's so warm. I'm very sorry about it. Oh yeah, okay. It's always worth remembering that dystopias aren't real. They're stories to say something about the world. That's absolutely right, Lesbian Charmander. Thank you for putting it so succinctly. That's one of my major concerns, exactly how much damage will be done before the recovery. If I may ask, what organizing are you doing? I was saying to my partner earlier in the week, I feel like financial literacy among leftists and like economic literacy is unfortunately fairly low a lot of the time. And so people end up making completely moral arguments without the ability to convince people who don't share the same set of morals of the validity of the statement. Like, if everyone agreed on like principle that like we should do the things that are moral, like everyone would already be a leftist and we wouldn't have to convince anyone of anything. I think that it would be really beneficial. I hate how many sirens are going past. This is really upsetting me. I'm sorry about this, everyone. Like I say, I just really have to have the windows open to not just pass out. But yeah, we have to, Oh, I think someone might be playing music outside. If that happens, I'm kind of fucked, actually. Vertigogosaurus, thank you so much for the £10 donation, no message. If you are enjoying the stream, please consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using command tip. What are we saying? Dystopia, world is not ending. Economics, yeah. It can be hard if you're like young and passionate to like get into economics as a leftist because there's no heroes essentially. Like there's no one for you to like cheer on, and I think that like that brings you to a point of view if you see that to where like the only thing you can really do that really truly matters is build like communist economic material power, like more wealth in the hands of the unions, more land liberated from the private market and in the hands of communities who use the land, more resources and institutions captured by like the community and people who interact with them. Obviously, if you're like a statist communist and you believe basically in Dengism, like in China's stated goal of like doing the global market in order to help to create communism, then you believe that like that economic engine is communist economic power, which is in my opinion, a valid socialist viewpoint. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. Just like I think that it would be good for us, for the movement, for everything, for the world, for more leftists to understand stuff like the stock market better, rather than just treating it like an evil thing that belongs to the world of the capitalists. And I think that's probably something that, again, overlaps with what I believe to be like a core truth in that Rutger Bregman thing about like, we can't just like say AI is bad, therefore it will go away. It is bad. It won't go away. It won't stay the same as it is now. It will crash out tremendously badly. It is going to bring down likely just the whole American economy with it, probably the American state. Hey, Princess Backknight 666, it's lovely to have you here. Welcome to the stream. Absolutely wonderful that you're here. I am sweating so much and honestly having a bit of a terrible time with streaming today. It's just far too warm. I have to have all the windows open to be able to keep the house cool, and things are quite loud outside, and I think it's giving me a level of overwhelm, which I'm trying to overcome, but we'll see how I fare. Yeah, we've been talking about tech stuff so far. As I say, tech questions welcome. We're doing a Q&A, like we're doing just chatting. It's an interactive stream. Hello again to VOD viewers. Please check out the links below if you want to support the stream, and I look forward to your comments. VOD viewers, you can also leave some questions if you want to, and I'll carry on answering questions to the best of my ability next stream a bit. Although I'm really hoping when we come back to the stream next time, we'll be able to do a more regular liberal slop stream. But yeah, I think I should talk to you all about the local organizing I've been doing, which will probably provoke more questions. Vertigosaurus says, I can't wait for the tech world to implode and it stops being about chasing bag holders. There's something in particular that the Trump regime and like the American religion of oil is doing right now, where they are trying to have something sort of akin to the moon race over and over again. Like, prove their technological superiority and cutting edgeness against world competitors, in particular China, over and over again. And it has to do with their status as an empire in decline. Million Peaches says, what kind of communication tools would you recommend for organizing? Like, as opposed to a Discord locally, we're considering a self-hosted Matrix server. So I think that this would be a question better suited to Abby. She is obviously the more, like, you know, discerning between different types of Linux distro girly rather than me. But it is a very valid question and a very important question. And the answer is, like, the most inclusive rather than the most secure. You need to have communications that are as secure as they need to be to protect the operation of what you're doing. And you need to have communications that every member involved in your organizing can use freely and well. So in local organizing here, right, like I am organizing with quite a lot of older people because what we're organizing, and I'll get into more depth with this in a second, everyone, because I'll sort of tell the whole story over again of what's happening here. But very briefly, we are on an estate of 100 and nearly 200 houses where a new landlord bought the estate late last year, and now oh, Million Peach is saying no. I got to add. You should subscribe. Okay, I'm waiting for her to tell me that she's back now. Okay, you're back. Okay, cool. You should subscribe. Everyone, please, someone please give Million Peaches ad-free viewing. And so this doesn't happen again, her asking me a question and then being unable to see the answer. But if you're back now, I can say. So the answer about what communication platforms is, you need to use stuff that is as secure as it needs to be and is usable easily and freely by the people who are involved. So here, I'm trying to organize people where on an estate where nearly 200 homes are facing mass evictions from a landlord who bought the property late last year and who is trying to like convert the property to like have more units on it essentially and trying to do mass evictions to do that. To do that, I have to talk to a bunch of neighbors who are much older, and like it would be completely unreasonable to expect those people to have like a high level of technical literacy, right? If we were saying like let's use a matrix server, for that matter, if we were saying to these people like let's use a Discord server, that would be completely overwhelming. And I know that factually because getting them into a WhatsApp community is what we have done, and a lot of people have found that to be too much and found that very confusing. You need to be ready to go old school to include the most people, and I know the organizing that you in particular are doing, Million Peaches. So you know, like, and you know I do, but like, I'm trying to give a general answer that's helpful, but I am still also saying this to you specifically. You need to think lower tech sometimes. Like you have to be ready to like find the people who will miss your thing if it's only advertised on Instagram, or will, and I know you in particular, you sorted that out, but like you need to be able to get people involved who can't use a matrix server for the kind of thing that you're doing. Actually, it probably would be beneficial if the thing that you're doing could involve older people. But again, use the level of communication that you are that is necessary to protect your operation. So here I'll be speaking to a general example, right? If what you were doing was manufacturing mifepristone and misoprostol, right? The abortion medications for a medical abortion that are illegal in a bunch of US states, right? So here's the thing that I think we all on this stream right now, and VOD watchers will all agree, straightforwardly is a moral thing to do, and in some places it's illegal, so some degree of like activist and organized manufacture is something that would target a medical and state-based inequality there, right? Then something that you would want to do is use encrypted comms, right? So for that stuff, like Signal would be super adequate, right? Like if you want to organize a large community of people talking in an encrypted way, Matrix can be good, but you really need the person who sets it up to have some degree of like industry level understanding of like cryptography, ideally, to truly be safe from stuff. And even then, like the American state has an acronym NOBUS, which is short for No One But Us, and refers to features that are essentially installed into loads and loads and loads of American technological and like software products that like allow them backdoors through all sorts of platforms, because we're talking about backdoors that they have through systems which other systems rely on as well. So there will be some projects that like people are people are what am I trying to say? No, my brain's melting again. Um, People are sometimes trying to use systems that they think are really super secure because an anarchist set it up, and actually the anarchist has built it off of something that the US government has Nobus capability on. Um, if you were trying to organize the manufacture of mifepristone and misoprostol, Signal would be a completely appropriate level of encryption to be operating on. If you were trying to organize insurrection against the American government within America, Signal would still be a fairly good thing for your like average people in your widespread terrorist network or whatever. I'm writing the fan fiction instead of the tech guys. It would be a completely adequate thing for you to use, but you should also be aware of things like versions of Signal that everyone from like the Met Police to the BJP in India to the American government, there are versions of Signal they have which can still interact with other Signal users, and it will work like if someone comes into contact with a Signal user with this version installed, they can get just all the data. They can just harvest absolutely all of the data just from this person being in contact, essentially. So like these agents being able to be in any group chats is, gonna fuck people up. Being aware of that kind of stuff is really important if you're running some kind of large scale, very, very radical operation. If you're operating on the level of like a local community group, if you're operating even on the level of like Just Stop Oil or something, like you might go as far as like your own custom version of Signal, but it's still ultimately just going to be Signal. Signal is really good, and I recently have seen some London activists trying to use, is it called Simplex? And it's so stupid because like they're using a product that's literally like a Jack Dorsey product that is trying to compete against existing good alternatives that people should be using instead. And like, why is this guy, if he's supposedly like on the side of anti-fascism in any way, like coming in and trying to compete against existing good open source alternatives rather than just funding those ones? Oh, check it out! It's because he's a techno-fascist creep as well. Million Peaches says we've been using Signal so far, but it lacks some features we wanted, so we were looking for other options in addition to it. Yeah, I think that ultimately, like for what you're doing, I do think Matrix is extremely sensible. I think that if you have someone who is a very experienced and talented server admin, you can set up a really good like custom local intranet. And if you can do that, this is a whole project that I mean to get onto at some point in the future, and I was really hoping it was going to be this year, and the longer that this organizing stuff eats into my time, the more I feel like it's not going to be this year. But you can do incredible stuff with LoRa devices now, long-range radio devices, and there are quite a lot of very good anarchist guides around the principle of like making an alternative internet structure for a local area, so that you have like radio devices and relays so that were the internet to get shut down where you are, right, this is a thing internationally we have seen fascist and authoritarian regimes do, and America, for example, right now, has a fascist government. Um, there would be an alternative infrastructure for you to be able to rely on. But that, again, will only be usable to people who have been quite pointedly included. So again, you just need to be ready for the level of different stuff that you're doing, and for something that's like involving people a lot more, so that you can, like, if you're trying to involve people in a community democratic structure so that people can have a say, so you can hear from perspectives that you wouldn't hear from if you were only listening to the activist class, then you should try to get as low tech as possible whenever you can, in order to catch the people who are just like absolutely not plugged into the standard of, like, yeah, I don't know, the sort of the things that define and also segregate like woke activists and organizers from the general population. Yeah, even if you're organizing among trans people, because it's very easy to assume that the trans population overlapping the hyper dogmatic woke population is a circle, and it's not. It's not. There's a big overlap. It's not a circle. Yeah. So, I've now been streaming for 1 hour 40 minutes. So, you know what to do. Okay, let me tell you about the local organizing stuff I've been doing. For those who are just tuning in to this story and have no idea what's been going on at all, I live on an estate in South London, where there are nearly 200 homes, and late last year, it was sold by the landlord who had been operating here for more than 10 years, who is the landlord for everyone. It was a large corporate landlord. It sold to a different large corporate landlord whose explicitly described business model is going to areas, hollowing out family homes, turning them into HMOs. HMOs is houses of multiple occupancy. Hey Lorcan, welcome to the stream. Lovely to have you here. And so what this landlord started doing was, like, they immediately stopped collecting the rubbish. They immediately stopped, like, maintaining the lawns or anything on the estate. So everything looked like shit. They handed out like dozens of eviction notices, and gave everybody else completely unaffordable rent increases as well. So I received this rent increase that was £250 per month, and Abby and I just, like, held each other on the sofa and, like, cried, because, like, obviously this is too much, no one can afford this, and it's just a de facto eviction, right? Like, it's just completely fucking you over. And then when we started talking to neighbors more, we realized that ours was among the absolute smallest rent increase that had been issued, and the highest one I've heard of was £900 per month increase. Like, not a £900 rent, an increase of £900 per month. So what was I saying? So we became aware of this because our local MP, who is an absolute fucking tool, held a couple of we were aware of this because we were aware of this, but, like, how the organizing really started was our local MP held a couple of meetings which were really super no use. Like, the guy comes in like a puffy vest and a big blingy watch and tells people that they're going to need to get onto the homelessness list. Like, it's so insulting. Also, an important thing about this estate is, like, there are people who've been living here for, like, 10, 20, 30, or, like, nearly 40 years. Like, I've been living here about 10 years, and when I talk to people about that in London, they're absolutely astonished, because, like, everyone moves every year or more often in London, and, like, you know, I can see that for people my age, that's a long time. But on the estate, it's a relatively short time. So it, like, really is, like, destroying local community, and there are already, like, a bunch of families that have been affected by it. But yeah, this MP held these meetings, and my partner and I, Abby, went around just adding people into a WhatsApp group. And then we got people together to do targeted door knocking rounds until we covered the whole estate, and we got people into the WhatsApp group, and we formally created a tenants association, at which point we sent a collective grievance letter to the landlord where we said we want you to maintain the estate, we want you to cap the rent increases, we want you to drop the eviction notices and the rent increase notices that you've made, and we want residents to have a long-term say in what's going on here. Roe says people move that often. Why? Because the housing market in London is an absolute nightmare, and it's incredibly predatory, and keeping people completely transient is, unless they have an incredible amount of money, is a kind of core part of how London creates like a almost perpetual K-shaped economy. If you come into London with a pretty comfortable amount of money, you are going to be able to put down roots in a way that will allow you to long term build up more like prosperity and well-being, and set down roots more properly. And if you come in with no money, you're going to just be constantly battered around while working jobs that serve the previous class of people. So we made a TA, we sent a collective grievance letter. We found out that the landlord had not applied for licenses, at least hadn't applied from the beginning for licenses for our properties, which were in a selective licensing ward, which means that you have to have licenses in order to let these properties, otherwise you are doing a crime. And what this means is that we can file rent repayment orders. We just had the first session to facilitate people doing rent repayment orders this week. We're going to need to do more door knocking rounds. Tomorrow actually is the next one, to get people doing it, because if minimum 100 people file rent repayment orders, and I know from looking at the data on this, the average length of time between the purchase of the estate and when the landlord started filing applications is 3 months. And if the average rent on the estate is about £1,500, which it is, that would be £450,000. Which, ouch, right? We are absolutely taking this all the way. It is completely unacceptable what this landlord is doing. The way that they have turned the central part of the estate into a building site, and the houses where they have evicted our neighbors, those family homes are being turned into these super cramped HMOs, is absolutely fucked. Before you even get to every empty unit that they have, this landlord uses to fill with people off of temporary and emergency accommodation waiting lists. This is a scam, right? If you are moving into an area as a landlord and making a ton of people homeless, and decreasing the amount of family homes while housing people off of emergency and temporary accommodation waiting lists, you are scamming local authorities out of public money as your business model. Just despicable shit. And that's before we get to the harassment and intimidation. Our neighbors have received so much shit from these, from the property managers who, nominally it's a different company, but they've just done that to protect themselves, to cover their liability. It shares one of the same directors as the landlord company does. And one of these property managers sent an email to one of my neighbors where she claimed that if she applied a 10% increase that was possible, not mandatory, to this woman's contract that started in 1997, every year compound, then the landlord would be within his rights to charge £10,000 a month. So actually £2,000 a month is just generous, really, and completely reasonable. That's intimidation, right? That's relying on scaring someone who doesn't have legal knowledge. into signing something that they don't actually have to sign and have no obligation to sign whatsoever. So really nasty stuff. They also like rung people up and told them that their contracts had expired, not true, and told them that they had to sign a new contract, not true. They've also like installed CCTV on the estate, which has night vision and audio recording capabilities, as bragged about by one of their contractors. Just really nightmarish stuff through and through. So, as I say, we're filing rent repayment orders. Roe says so they're perpetually forced to move by increasing rent. Until the Renters' Rights Act came in, a lot of the time people were being forced to move by their landlord just serving them a Section 21 because they wanted to make some kind of change to the property, they wanted to sell the property or whatever. It wasn't even that the rent was being raised. Like, the rent is being raised all the time. When I first moved to London, a pretty normal expected rent for like a room in a flat share might have been like £500 to £600. And like, you know, now it's over 1,000. Like shit is really grim here. But there's also like a lot of housing associations which, you know, generally like take care of people better, but like can be really nasty. Housing associations, for people who don't know the UK context, are private companies that provide social housing. So it's like council housing, but with a company. Hooray for public-private partnerships. Thanks, Thatcher. What was I saying? So we're filing rent repayment orders. We're also meeting with the council. We've been coordinating a campaign. We got some press coverage in local and national press. We have gotten local campaigners involved. There's actually something quite cute that happened where like a local campaigner who's been an organizer for decades and decades, like, just showed up at our house one day because she'd heard about what was going on the estate and just decided to go find out about it. Yeah, I mean, it's going really, really well. Where we've gotten to is basically a couple of days ago, I got a call from one of these property managers, and she was very, very determined to dissuade us from doing the rent repayment orders, because obviously, right? Because it's gonna just cost them a ton of money. It might even like you know, bankrupt the company. Like, they're really, really fucked. And as you can tell, I'm delighted about this. She was trying to dissuade us, but like, she was trying to do this by claiming that we had like incorrect information that we'd gotten from the council and like from council officers who handle licensing, like really pathetic stuff. But she didn't get around to doing this for about 20 minutes because when she called, I saw it was going to be her. Because although she hadn't called before, one of the neighbors who has been in contact with me gave me her number so I could save it to my phone so I would know. So when she called, I just did a deep breath. And then I answered, and I said, you know, is this name from company name? And she says, yes, it is. And I say, oh, okay, that's cool. I've been meaning, sorry, I can hear there's a siren and I feel like it's going to come past in a second. This shit is killing me, babe. This sucks so bad. It's like if there could be one weather effect that meant that I had to have the windows all open, and there could be a different weather effect that meant I had to just be like boiling hot while I'm streaming, that would be one thing. But the fact that being boiling hot means I also have to have all the windows open and be completely overwhelmed by sounds, it's rough here. Okay, I did a deep breath and I answered and I say, is this name from company name? And she says yes. And I say, okay, that's cool. Yeah, like I just wanted to ask you, like I've been wondering, like, do you ever think that your job is evil? And she's like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean by that? And I say, what do you ever think that like the job that you do is like an evil job and the things that you do are like a bad bad for the world, bad for your well-being, bad for your soul almost. And she's I I don't know what you mean. I don't know. Well, I just think, like if you're raising these rents on people, and you're doing this to like just like dozens and dozens of people and to like all of my neighbors, like the devastating effect that this is having is driving people out of homes that they've lived in for decades and they've raised their children in, they've raised their grandchildren in. Like that just must weigh heavy on your conscience. And she's just at this point, she's just what? It's just a joke. It's just like this, and I'm like, so I'm like, like I just think that like it surely it must just eat at you, like it must gnaw at you, like I don't know, like at night, like you mustn't sleep well, like when you're like evicting elderly people, disabled people, migrants, non-fluent English speakers, like putting people who are already precarious into like an already more like a far more precarious position, like that must be really hard for you and like bad for you, surely, like bad for your, I don't know, mental health or anything. Like that just must really eat on your conscience. She starts saying like, "Oh, it's a job. I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing what I'm told." I said to her, yeah, people say that, right? That's fine, but there are good jobs and bad jobs. There are jobs that are better for the world and jobs that are worse for the world, and you have like an evil job, right? Like you see that your job is evil. You must see that. Um, and she kept sticking to like she has, it's just her job. She has a job to do. I said, and I said to her, I just think if it was me, when I see like old people in my life, in my family, who I care about, who I love, like I would think, oh my God, that could be them. Like that could, like the people I'm evicting, the people I'm making homeless, the people I'm tearing out of their communities, out of their homes for decades, that could be those people I love and care about to someone else. Those are real people. And like when you make someone homeless, like that has a huge effect on their life. Like it could kill them, and I don't know how that doesn't weigh on your conscience. And she said, well, and she really said, like she really sounded like she was going to cry at this point. She said, well, you have your opinion, and I have a job to do. And I said, I have an opinion, but you have a job. That's really interesting. Don't you have an opinion? And she said, well, I have an opinion, but it's just not relevant right now. Wee. And, and I just spent about 20 minutes just doing that, basically. And yeah, she was quite keen to stop us from doing the rent repayment orders, which is a shame. That's a real shame, because she's also been ringing up my neighbors and saying things like, "Take us to court, you won't win." So, it's a real shame that it will hurt their company and their business for us to file these rent repayment orders that we're legally entitled to file and to win. It would be really sad if she loses her job because of this, but maybe it will be good for her in here. Just think about it. So, that was a very amusing call I had. It really let me let off some steam after all the shit that's been going on. We had an incredibly busy week in the last week of May. I've already talked about this on stream before, but basically we were just trying to get all of our neighbors who had rent increases rather than eviction notices through the rent tribunal initial form stage, so that those people would have their rents frozen, because the rent tribunal allows you to just like not pay an increase once you've applied to it while it's being sorted out by the tribunal. Hopefully that discourages you from calling her from calling you again. I mean, my partner is the chair of the TA, is basically why she was trying to call me, and she'd found out that, and she was trying to get in touch with the TA because the TA sent the collective grievance letter saying like, these are our demands, and if you like comply with those demands, then that's fine. You're a landlord, and we'll pay the rent. Um, and if you don't, then we're going to seek maximum penalties and maximum prosecution and go to every relevant authority and notify them of your behavior and, just seek for just everything that we can possibly get for all of the violations of our rights and all of the breaches of your responsibilities as a landlord. And in saying that, we set out a very clear path, the one way or the other way. And they didn't comply with any of the demands. They said, come for a meeting with us and tell us the details of every tenant who comes for the meeting beforehand. Which, like, I don't know, do you think we're dumb? Like, what the fuck? So we just didn't reply. So what happened was she was calling up and she was trying to dissuade us from doing the rent repayment orders, and she said that she was trying to reach the chair of the TA, and she was really frustrated that the TA hadn't been replying to hadn't replied to their offer of a meeting, which, we were a bit busy dealing with the enormous crisis caused to 300 vulnerable people by these absolute scumbags. So that's cool. Yeah, we had a very busy week doing that stuff a few weeks ago. This week things are going way better, and I think it is quite observably because of the organized power that we've built so far. They wouldn't. Yeah, so what's happened is they have told the council and now told us that what they're doing is putting a pause to the eviction notices and the rent increase notices while negotiations happen. And we've sent a reply saying on hold or a pause is legally meaningless when it comes to rent increases and eviction notices, because all these things are basically just ticking down towards a court date. It's all just on rails in the meantime. So if they want for things to be meaningfully on hold, they need to rescind the notices. They need to actually just put in writing, we are rescinding these notices. So we've told them that, but also the fact that they, at the start of this and until now, they've been taking an incredibly hardline position. People will tell them, I can't afford to pay £900 a month more, and they'll say, the landlord has a mortgage to pay. So the fact that they're willing to even pretend to be doing something is a demonstration of the real hard power that we're building here. And yeah, we've replied to them to tell them that they have to rescind absolutely every one of their notices in order to meaningfully generate the goodwill to have any kind of negotiation. But also, that's not what we're doing. It's not impossible there will be some meetings or whatever, but there is no interest on this estate in these people continuing to be the landlords after what they've done. So we are going to take them to hell. We are going to hand them over to Satan personally. Rest assured, sweet chatters. And yeah, so it's been an interesting time so far. The reason I won't be streaming next week is that next weekend we have the street party, and I'm going to be very busy organizing around that, rushing around like a headless chicken, getting tables and chairs for the street party, gazebos. There's a sound system. We're going to have a bouncy castle. We're going to set up an info stall, and we're going to have the local renters unions do stalls as well, and we're just inviting tons and tons and tons of people, and it's going to be pretty big, and hopefully it's going to raise a nice amount of money for the estate and for the struggle as well. Sounds like the landlord shouldn't be living outside their means. Has the landlord considered reducing how many cafe latte enemas they get? Fewer slices of avocado toast. I had chicken, avocado, and hummus in a pita for dinner, and it was fucking delicious. It was really good. That's my whole contribution to that. Yeah, I mean it's going great, and I'm enjoying thoroughly bodying these people, like really just like absolutely grinding them into the dirt where they belong. Um, it's good fun. They should not have fucked with my neighbors. Is the main thing. I've been saying this since the beginning. That like if a landlord was evicting just me, like I would use whatever means necessary to fight it. Right, like the appropriate means and recourse that is available to me. But just like when you fuck with my neighbors who like have lived here for all this time, and as I say, have like raised their children and grandchildren in these same houses, no, like game over. You must go to hell, like directly to hell. Um, it's been a really interesting time. Really cool getting to know all the neighbors. There's a lot of like relationship managing involved in it. Um, I also think I've just learned a ton about organizing. I think I said this earlier in the stream, but I feel like in the last 3 months, I've gained like a year's worth of organizing experience at least. Um, and yeah, it's super interesting. It's super, super interesting. So this is part of why I was stressing the need for low techness when I had the when Million Peaches asked the question before about about communication systems. Like low tech approaches to communication are really really helpful because um, just basically like the convenience of communication through technology has been sort of oversold to us all in recent years, and there's this sort of like shrinking size of crowd of like the real world, and then like all of social media, and then like niche forms of communication and secure communication especially. Um, and then it turns out like when you want to capture like as many people as possible to be involved in something, like if you possibly can, just walking up to their house and knocking on their front door is the absolute most like reliable and solid way to do it. And if you can't, putting something through their letterbox is better. Um, and if you can't do that, then like, pardon me, some kind of poster or flyer or whatever in their environment where they'll regularly see is good. And yeah, just like yeah, I think that giving people, I'm proud of the initial instinct I had to like give people a space to vent and just like be mad about what's going on with a group chat, but not try to make that like the absolutely central, most important thing going on, or care too much about how well moderated the group chat is or whatever. It's just like you just need to let people have a space to vent about stuff. Um, it's definitely yeah. It's just been super super interesting. So anyway, any questions anyone has, and any like organizing experience other people want to talk about. As I say, this is a much more interactive stream than usual, and I welcome you all chatting. And I think my next move is going to be to play some Ball X Pit, which I was recommended to me by Tim, and I've been absolutely addicted to since he recommended it to me. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with, and I've already like unlocked everything, but but I'm still really enjoying it. So I've just seen I have a comment on my I have a comment on my Tumblr post announcing this stream where a man has commented, "You like it big?" And I'm just like what what's happening here? Like I'm just saying that I'm streaming. It's always baffling to me. Like every time basically that like men show up to interact in incredibly horny ways towards my normal Tumblr, not my horny Tumblr, I'm just like incredibly baffled by it. Um I've been streaming for 2 hours now, actually 2 hours 10 in total. If you've been enjoying the stream, please consider paying for the stream, and you can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using command tip. If you're a VOD viewer, you can check out the links below, which includes a GoFundMe for my 30th birthday. I would really like to take a trip to New Zealand, where I was born, and see my birthplace. Um, yeah. Lorcan says, answer the question. Okay, let's scroll up. How tired are you right now? Because I'm still tired from repeal street stalls. No, still tired from repeal. Yeah, I am incredibly exhausted. I think that like it can't be stressed enough that you have to have really like firm boundaries for yourself and be willing and ready to like protect your peace when you're organizing. You need to balance it, right? Because like for example, we've had interest from Acorn, the community and tenants union. Thank you so much, Middle Earth Marxist, for the £5 donation with the message, just weird little meows. Just weird little meows. Thank you. Acorn has been interested, and they've been basically saying they can only really help if they get a certain number of members within an estate. Like they have to get past a quota in order to like help people, which like I do respect that they're trying to build power and that they need to have a material basis to that. But like, we're in Southwark. LRU, London Renters Union, doesn't even have a branch in Southwark, and they've been helping more. So like, you have to balance it sometimes between like, actually LRU and Acorn are really good examples of this. LRU is full of burnt out people, and Acorn doesn't win nearly as much shit around the UK as LRU does just in London. So Acorn is clearly effectively protecting their peace and building in a more sustainable way because they're like insisting that they get paid for their time, basically. Like not paid a lot, just paid. And LRU, I think, is like much more dependent on like volunteer time and structured around it. And I think that its structures are causing the kind of mass burnout problem that LIU is experiencing and has been experiencing for a couple of years now. But that would start to get into like broader problems of the activist left, and those have been kind of talked to death. Like the only thing I would add there is saying a lot of stuff people have already said, but saying like, no, I really mean it, like it's really true, and you have to actually take it seriously. Yeah, so like I've been super tired. I meant the Tumblr question. Thanks, Lorcan. Okay. Yes, Lorcan. I like big cocks. Thank you for asking. Thank you for insisting I answer the question. I like when they're really big, long and thick. Anyway, in organizing, yeah, you have to protect your peace. You have to make sure that you're like relaxing properly. I think especially because there can be something very euphoric about organizing, and there can be something really like empowering, exciting, like big dopamine rush from like organizing stuff, and especially like achieving wins. Like the night of it must be yesterday actually. The day where they said we're putting this stuff on hold. As I say, meaningful and not meaningful, right? Legally meaningless, strategically very meaningful. Like I was falling asleep that night. I honestly felt the sensation of flying. I just felt this rush in my body, like I was just soaring. It was fantastic. And so it can be incredibly euphoric, like organizing if it's going well. And I think that drives people, in combination with like seeing people in a shit situation and wanting to help, to like just basically volunteer absolutely all of their time forever and ever and ever. I actually wrote a script about this that I did start filming but didn't end up putting out, which was about, pardon me, Aaron Bushnell. Bushnell was a viewer of this stream, actually. A fan of Red Planet, and I know they took all our advice very seriously. They talked to comrades they knew in real life about how the most important first step that anyone can take is to meet their neighbors. And that's what we've been saying on Red Planet since the beginning. And I think there's something quite symbolic in, like, obviously there's something symbolic in Bushnell's like self-immolation, and they are a martyr to Palestinian liberation. They put their body on the line as a beneficiary of imperial plunder and a part of the imperialist war machine, in a way that like sets a like the shining standard for like extreme protest. And at the same time, there's a conflict because like if anyone said to me, I'm going to do this thing, I would say absolutely do not do that thing. Absolutely categorically do not do that. And I think that there's a tension there that really needs resolving. As I'm talking this stuff through, by the way, I'm feeling like I should just actually like put that video out. Like I was a bit too unwell at the time to like finish making it, especially because like it was relatively recent that the self-immolation had happened, and I was just like a bit fucked up by like having had an influence on the politics and activism and life of someone who did something like that. And I think I interrogated the tension and came to a conclusion fairly well. But I think, yeah, like something I talk about in that is like this desire to like sacrifice everything, and strategically that just doesn't actually make hard progress. Like it can be a very powerful symbolic act that could influence people, but it's not actually like something that directly makes a change in the world. And that's not a criticism I would level at Bushnell in general, because it's very, very clear from everything described by their real world comrades that they made a tremendous difference directly to people in just feeding people, meeting their neighbors, organizing local community in exactly the ways that we've been promoting on Red Planet and saying is the stuff that people need to do. So I'm not accusing them at all of having been someone who didn't do things. But like I say, right, there's a tension. It's a complicated one because there's a tension, and that tension is like, I just don't know. Yeah, like I would tell someone absolutely do not do that if I knew them and they said that I'm gonna do this like self-immolation protest. Yeah, I'm gonna get another drink and load up this video game and play some video games time. I think it's play video games time and hang out. And as I'm saying, just hit me with questions. It's a more interactive stream than usual, and we're just gonna do some Q&A style stuff. Let me just check how the audio's doing. Oh, just lost my other screen. But it's okay because it's the game loading. Okay. And okay, that looks like it's a bit loud compared to me. So I'm gonna bring it down to like there. And I'm talking now as a test of whether this is going to be too loud compared to my voice. But I think it's actually okay. And so cool. I'm going to get a drink. Thank you, someone, for tipping £10.51 with no message. One thing I'll talk about with pardon me. What? Oh, I've got something really dry in my throat. My question, Sophie, is do you know any cool and interesting facts about lions? I know that lions in places where there are tsetse flies sleep in trees to avoid them, which is quite cool and cute if you see it. I also know that lions are broadly matriarchal, which I think is cool. I know that, speaking of, lions are yet another place in the animal kingdom where we can see some degree of woke transgender nonsense. If there are no male lions in a pride, and there is a kind of stressful situation going on, especially if there's competition with aggressive male lions, female lions will sometimes have their testosterone levels spike and they will grow manes. Lions are among animals that exhibit homosexual behavior, says Vertigosaurus. And as Princess Backknight666 points out, sometimes a lion will mistake a tiny house cat for a cub and adopt her and pick her up in her mouth by the scruff of her neck and walk away with her. That's true. That's a real thing that happens. Oh, I've really got something stuck in my throat. This is not nice. Okay, can you all hear me okay? The music's really stimmy. It has really nice music. So I'm gonna basically just be clicking around. You're free to ask questions, but the premise of this game is it's a brick breaker with just a couple of just fun scaling stat effects that do various things. So I'm going to just show you all how it basically works by playing. Actually, this is like my favorite character, so I think I've probably not played. There are probably not any levels where I haven't played this guy. So I'll go back to the warrior, which I can see. Oh, or I won't. Hang on. What's happening? Did I assign the warrior to something? Must be currently in the war room building. Yes, that's what was going on. Okay, I'll play as the warrior on a level I haven't played the warrior yet. People who have played Vampire Survivors keep telling me this game is very, very Vampire Survivors, and I haven't played Vampire Survivors, so I can't actually meaningfully comment on that. But I think that in the same way that Balatro has a ton of different bizarre effects that spice up playing poker, and in the same way that Inscription unfolds into many, many games with all sorts of wacky bullshit going on, this game does that, but for Breakout, basically. Good night, Artist Zen. Thank you for hanging out. It's been lovely to have you here. Okay, so now I'm going to bounce the ball around. And how is the volume now that I'm actually playing? So one thing I'll say about local organizing is that I have found it very, very useful to make a distinction between fighting the enemy and beating the enemy and winning. And I think this is something that people could really like do well from like bearing this in mind in organizing that they're doing, because like off the bat, right, what you have to do is out-organize the enemy. The reason that the right wing has been able to capture as much as they've been able to capture in recent times especially is because there is a bunch of like explicitly like ideologically fascist money in the world. Like not just like the profit incentive aligning with fascism due to its tendency to do that, which obviously absolutely exists and it is absolutely a real force to be reckoned with. But like in specifically in recent years, like I'm talking about Nazis with billionaire money funding. All right, what's that? Alright, what's going on? I have a trillion messages. I ignored the neighborhood group chat for 2.5 hours. I have a trillion messages. Alright, we're fine, it's okay. Can you all hear me okay? I keep on asking this and not getting an answer, so I'm kind of worried that you can't. Any hot goss? Someone's cat was found. Someone had lost their cat and we were all very worried about it because of the heat wave. So that's nice, isn't it? Yay! Sound is good. Good. So yeah, I mean, at core, like, what you're trying to do is out-organize your enemy. The right wing has been very successful because they've been able to out-organize, and a huge reason that they've been able to out-organize is because of money, right? Like, just a ton of people get to be a right-wing organizer and activist, especially in America, because there's money for them to do that, and it can just be their job. Like, the phenomenon of, like, public figures who we all know that they don't really think those things and they just say them because it's their job, like, wouldn't be possible without the oil industry funding fascism incredibly directly, right? I answered, but I just said it's good, which probably wasn't helpful in hindsight. Okay, cool. My point in saying all of this stuff is you have to out-organize your enemy. And the other thing that I wanted to get to saying was, it's really, it's important to try and make a distinction between fighting your enemy and beating them and winning. Because, especially in a situation where you're organizing through crisis, right? Going back to the status quo, right? It's likely the status quo caused the crisis, right? And so winning might not just mean like getting back to that initial stage. And also, like, if you're what am I trying to say? Sorry, I have gotten distracted by those messages. This is so frustrating. Winning, you need to think about what it means to you, like what would be a real win in terms of the organizing that you're trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. And so you should think about, like,
fighting them and what that requires. Generally speaking, like, you can fight against stuff that's going on by just deciding to fight, like just by you yourself are doing something to make a difference and to fight the power, right? But you need to, I'm just going to move this over actually slightly because I think that the game is, yeah, I think that's probably going to look a bit better. Beating them, right? Like, you could then talk about, like, getting back to a status quo or whatever, like, stopping someone that you're organizing against from doing the thing that they're trying to do, like, stop the construction of this data center or what have you. But winning has to be a different thing. And I think that is, I do just think that is a useful distinction that I think I'd like to get people to consider in organizing what they're doing in future. Just so you know, chat, I'll probably go for about another half an hour. Oh, I had the Maggie Haberman video I was gonna watch. Okay, I might bring the video up in a second. But basically, I was considering watching this video. It's kind of just it's a promo for Maggie Haberman's new book. She's getting interviewed by Christian Guru Murthy, who I absolutely can't fucking stand. But it is functionally like a bit of good liberal slop to some degree, because they're talking about like Trump and like I don't know, like it's just so kind of devoid of real analysis of the situation. Like I don't think that everything Haberman says, to be fair, is like completely devoid of analysis, but just like so many things about Trump tend to be so much about like what is he like as a guy, and the interviewer is basically in Krishna Guru Murthy's case this is very, very true, like essentially just saying like, tell me what it's like to meet Donald Trump, wow. And it's just like, oh, this is sicko shit, dude, like what are you doing? Okay, back, see you soon. But I think what was really interesting to me and what made me really want to watch the video and share it on the stream is basically like, it seems like more people are starting to come around to what to me seemed like a very obvious position for a while now, based on what Trump has been saying his intentions are, which is to be the emperor, to be immortal God Emperor of America. Like people are just treating this as it's still like a new revelation. I've been saying since forever that like he has been really upfront about how he doesn't want there to be elections again after this. Like, I don't know. I think I could do more game streams potentially, and just like chat in a more laid-back way. And I have been promising those bonus streams. It might be more Ball Axe Pit now, because it's my current obsession, but it is also my downtime game, so I've kind of like completed an enormous amount of it at this point. I just think that people are gonna basically need to do an enormous amount of organizing in the coming years to fight the horrors. And so, like, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like Red Planet is has taken a step too far ahead for a lot of people. But I think the success of like It Could Happen Here is a good marker that like people are definitely tuning in for like organizing advice and discussion of a politics that's based on people actually doing stuff and actually taking part in the world and like, you know, making structures that make a change rather than just like trying to have the correct take online. Is this game speedrun worthy? What would a speedrun of this require? Let me think about that. A speedrun of this would mean unlocking all the characters, building up your citadel, getting through all the levels, and then getting 8 characters to the moon at the end as fast as possible. Yeah, that could be kind of a fun speedrun, I suppose. I'm not sure that, like... I'm not sure... yeah, you know what? There would be some quite interesting stuff going on with, for example, like, how you... which characters you pick to take you through the levels as fast as possible would be quite strategically interesting. I don't think that, like, the levels are... Like, I'm currently at the stage of the game where, having unlocked everything, like, I've unlocked quite a lot of different completely game-breaking things, and so, like, I haven't lost a level in quite a long time now. But I think that wouldn't really be the concern if you were trying to speedrun it, I think. Vertigo Gosora says, time to put on one's big girl pants and go out into the scary world of Outside and meet some folks. Honestly, like, when I say that, like, I live in a neighborhood that is kind of notorious for having one of the most, like, one of the all-time most fascist football clubs in the world, and, like, I've gotten out and met my neighbors, and it's been just fine, actually, and people are generally just really nice. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, if I can do it, I think other people can do it. I don't know, like, I think it's worth me acknowledging that, like, my whiteness is always going to be a larger privilege than like any kind of oppression that I face. But at the same time, yeah, like I think that going out and meeting your neighbors, you just need the right incentive to do it, and it will become not scary anymore because it will become a thing that you have to do. Inferno applies 1 stack of burn every second to all enemies within a 2-tile radius. Burn lasts for 6 seconds, dealing 9 to 20 damage per stack per second. That sounds pretty good. Are there lots of ways to execute that will finish the level faster? Well, this is why I was kind of pondering what you were saying, because basically no. Basically not really. It is like levels take... Your character is literally like walking along a track, and when they get to the end of the track, then a boss comes out and you fight the boss while they try to push you back. And that's the point at which the level's length could change, is how fast you beat that boss. But the walking up there is like on a set timer, basically. So like, if you're ready to like beat the boss at the end of the level with incredibly high DPS, then potentially, yeah, you can beat the level significantly faster, and I have had that happen when I've gone back to like earlier levels with all of this game-breaking bullshit turned on. But I think that broadly the puzzle of doing a speedrun would be in the figuring out which characters to use in which combinations and so on. But then this is the other problem. People dip off really fast when I play games on here. Usually, like when I have the gaming bonus streams, I generally get way lower viewership, like I am now. So I don't know really what to do. Like I want to do more chill stuff sometimes, but I guess it just goes to show that people really love the liberal slop stream. People love their slop, it's true. One of the biggest things I wish people understood about climate politics generally is that the biggest solution to the climate crisis has been for a long time and remains everybody work less. Like, everybody chill out more and live in more like communal ways, but also like be less focused on growth and productivity and expansion of existing enterprises and so on, like would make the biggest difference to how we produce and therefore to how we pollute of anything. And like, I don't know, it's just such a bizarre, like, I'm thinking about it because of the heat wave and just like seeing more like eco-activist propaganda than usual, and like I just wish there was more of a focus on the fact that like if we as a species win against the oil industry and like defeat like this fascist bullshit, like the biggest thing, the single biggest change to make is for everyone to just kind of chill out a bit. Like, I don't know. Too much time on social media being mad about stuff, like being made mad about stuff, I guess. I'm enjoying watching you game. I'm glad. I'm really, really glad. So I'm going to return to base. So I learned that, so basically it's called Ball X Pit because fusing stuff together and creating like combination effects is a core part of the game. So you'll have like Magma X Storm, and so you have the effects of the magma, the knock-on effects of the magma ball that will have the status effects of the storm ball, or whatever, like that. This is sort of the other half of the game, is basically you build a city, and you have to like harvest stuff and get resources. I have essentially built everything there is to build in the city now, so this bit will be relatively uninteresting. Like, there are a few buildings where you can upgrade them indefinitely, and if you keep on upgrading them, then you like get stat bonuses for every character the more that you upgrade them. So that's worth doing continually, but like, yeah. Row the Fair Thing Lion says, we literally had a case study during COVID. I mean, that's exactly it, and that's what I always keep on referring to with this, is that like we had a case study, we had it, like we reduced the economy down to just people who were doing essential services, insisted that everyone work from home, and shut down like a bunch of shit basically. And like, yes, people were miserable. I'm not proposing that people go into lockdown. People had a terrible time being in lockdown. And also, like, if we could like what am I trying to say? And also, if we could produce and therefore pollute at kind of the rate that we were under the pandemic, we would all be, yeah, like we would be polluting barely at all, actually, and at a rate that is entirely like within sustainable quotas for the world and for climate change, and that would be cool, in my opinion. I can already tell this game would take over if I played it. I do nothing else for a month. Well, yeah, it's been very good for me during my like downtime from organizing stuff recently. It's really, really helped me out, like, massively. So it is a very good game to get like quite lost in. Even the city has breakout this rules. Yeah, it's really fun. Also, like, the upgrades that you get have like the they have the like I accept button is labeled like cool or whoa, which is a lot of fun because that's legitimately how you feel about it when you read the descriptions and you're just like, holy shit, that's really cool. I'm trying to look for a specific ball to add to my set here. So there's fusing, as I said already. You get one like AXB combinations, but then you get evolving as well, which is sort of following an almost like Doodle God style logic. Where, so for example, here we've got the spiky ball and the charm ball makes berserk, like a spiky, painful charm or infatuation makes enemies go berserk and start attacking each other. Or you can have spiky ball X poison. That's a virus. So, you know, then you make a little plague. And there's mostly just evolutions, like every ball can evolve together with something else. And then there are certain combinations that have second order evolutions, and I am trying to collect the right balls at the moment in this run to be able to make the Satan ball, because I find the Satan ball very entertaining, basically. Row the Fair Thing Lion says about working less in the pandemic, a net increase in sea turtles. Yeah, absolutely. Oh. What do we have? Well, I don't really want any of those. Dang it. I really love modern, more complicated versions of classic arcade games. I played a ton of Titan Attacks when I first found it, and I still get periodically obsessed with the Geometry Wars. Yeah, that's extremely real. That's extremely, extremely real. One thing I will say about local organizing is like the way that you can get emotionally tied into it can really fuck you up. Like there have been a few times when I've hit like really bad despair. It can be like such a roller coaster going through this stuff. Like one of the messages when I checked just now, like I just found out that someone else is moving out of the estate, and just like honestly, there's probably like a number of times I can hear that before I'm like really gonna be quite fucked up, and I'm having to like take time to like emotionally regulate and stuff when I do hear about that. Because like there are enough people here basically that like it can be we can be doing as well as we're doing and people still can be leaving. Like, yeah. Dark Charm makes Incubus. Okay. Everyone, please remember, if you're enjoying the stream, consider paying for the stream. You can subscribe or cheer or donate directly using command tip. If you have a Prime account and it's attached to your Twitch account, you can subscribe by giving me a Prime subscription. Sorry, I'm just thinking about stuff. You can subscribe by giving me a Prime subscription. It doesn't cost you any extra money, but it does give me real money. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? But please consider tipping if you are enjoying the stream. I've been streaming for almost 3 hours now. I can't reroll, that's frustrating. It's gonna have to be this one. Ah, now it's insisting on me taking one that I don't want. That's really, really frustrating. Okay. I'll do this one, and I can evolve that one with that one, and I can fuse them together. Alright, that's fair enough. And vampire, that's the one I need. Little Toasty X says, "You'll got me through some errands I've been needing to run for ages. Thanks for the company." Thanks for being here. I'm glad that you got through your errands, and hope you've been enjoying the stream. I do wish that more people were like understood and approached to organizing where it's kind of about creating like a long-term, how do I say this, liberation from the systems that we're trying to liberate ourselves from, in a way where like once you're, you know, out of it, you can be like, people can be really truly free of stuff. Like I don't know, I'm not expressing this all that well right now. It's just kind of on my mind that like there are a lot of people who are relatively comfortable who are involved in organizing, for whom it's quite like a portfolio or like CV exercise for them. And like there are also people who I guess I'm thinking again from the kind of perspective of like the left and the right. Like the right wing is able to do what they're able to do because they have money pouring in to pay them to do this stuff. Like if you think about anti-ICE organizing in Minneapolis that took place, right? Like the ICE agents get paid to be evil. Like the reproductive labor of their households is taken care of because they are being paid a wage. And like if they're married, their wife is cooking their dinner or whatever. Like you need to structure your labor around being able to support each other more. And I just wish that more people were like, obviously it's really inspiring to see when that stuff comes together in a good way, and then like people build those structures. I just wish more people were building those structures to last and to just be free, kind of for the sake of being free sometimes. Like I don't know, I guess one thing is, for example, feeding people is a thing I've been thinking about a ton recently. Just like there are a lot of hungry people, and as far as crisis goes, like the crisis is already there for people who don't have the means to solve that crisis. And like, if there were community structures for feeding people and people were able to just eat for free, they would be so much more meaningfully free of yeah, just of so much. I don't know. Lesbian Charmander says, do you have any tips for getting involved in organizing while pretty significantly disabled? It's been hard for me to find places I can help. You might have to give more specifics, if that's okay with you, about the ways in which you are disabled. But off the top of my head, like, there are lots of things people can do. Like, everyone has skills. People often think of organizing as being a particular set of things, like set of skills that they then feel like they can't be them because they don't have those skills. And actually, like, the skills that you do have, you can help in some way. The hard part will be like linking up with people, and that continues to be the hard part across basically everything. But just like I know various people who are like barely leave their house and have an active role in the movement because they have like tech skills, website building skills, or they have like graphics skills and they help people out basically with computer shit. Like, also, if you can do any amount of admin, is a kind of remote work that can be incredibly, incredibly useful to organizations. Like, the reason I'm drawing the comparison with the right wing paying people to do their political activity is that, like, sometimes we need to think of organizing as a little bit less like Antifa Black Bloc stuff and a little bit more like job stuff, in the sense that we need to understand, like, we need to understand which skills are applied in organizing, and those skills are often, what am I trying to say? Those skills, yeah, are often things that you would, like, bring to wanting to, like, offer to, like, a company or something. So if you want to offer those, you know, if you want to have skills to offer to an organization, they're often, like, the same things. Mobility issues, need a wheelchair, still don't have it. Linking up is kind of the problem since I can't leave the house without a lot of pain. Yeah, I mean, so I think that, like, looking into, so my friend Kim has a group you might have heard of called Geeks for Social Change. We interviewed her on Red Planet at one point, and like the idea is basically people putting tech skills towards the revolution. Although Kim has a kind of complicated personal philosophy that I don't know. Like we have some of those, some of the worst semantic disagreements of anyone I've ever met with Kim, where we absolutely morally agree on the thing and are talking past each other to crazy degrees. But like, what Kim is, Kim does a bunch of web work for, for people in organizations in the movement. My partner Abby has also collaborated with a group called Autonomic that's doing tech solutions for the revolution a whole bunch. As I say, there are like people who work as artists and stuff. Yeah, there's just a ton of shit you can do, to be honest. Yeah, Morrigan says, that's it, I'm sending the email to my local tenants union, you and Mule, mostly responsible for that. Hooray! I'm really glad to hear that. I hope it goes well, and I hope it's a good tenants union. Okay, chat, it has been 3 hours. I I must rest. I'm so tired. I'm incredibly, incredibly tired. So that's going to be it from me for today and for this stream and for this month, actually. And I'm going to be not back next week because next week is the fundraiser street party, which it's taking a lot to get organized, and it's going to be a big deal here on the estate with the stuff that's going on. So, I will see you all in 2 weeks. VOD viewers, please check out the links below the stream. Check out the GoFundMe. In the meantime, if people want to support me on Patreon or anywhere else, my links are at linktree.ee/Sophie from Mars. I have a couple of essays up on my Patreon at the moment in text form. When they are videos, they will be available in video form early for patrons. So you should definitely subscribe to my Patreon and see those things if you haven't done that already. There is also going to be hopefully another essay up in text form before I film all that stuff, and if not, that one's missing the boat, I guess. But I have something about Ezra Klein for my regular liberal slop enjoyers, and I'll see you next stream in 2 weeks. I'm just going to raid into Joan Atoms, who is a streamer I learned about recently, who I think does pretty good stuff. Okay, everybody make your favorite animal noises. We're going to raid into Joan now. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Stay tuned on all my social medias. Please subscribe, etc. And be wonderful to each other. Okay.